Welcome to the Erbekees experience. I am Jody Irving, owner of Erbekees-Keeshonden. I'm joined today with my co-host, Melanie Strong.
Hello, everyone. You guys can find our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, on YouTube under the Erbekees-Keeshonden channel. Head over to YouTube, like, subscribe, guys.
Yes.
Help us out.
Please, please, please. We're getting there. Okay, so today we're going to discuss traveling with your puppy. So I've got, as many of you know, I've got a bunch of litters up there, a bunch of little puppies that are going to be heading off to their new home shortly in the next several weeks. So I thought this would be a really good time to just kind of, go over some tips about how you're going to get your puppy from point A to point B. Several different ways we're going to talk about doing this. And we'll kind of just hit each one and kind of go over tips and things like that. For example, we have, people who are going to fly into Nashville and pick up their puppy and fly home. Of course, Erbekees does offer delivery both by airline and by car. It just kind of depends on our schedules and where you are as to which of those we do. So, there's that. There's also third party delivery service that I really want to talk about a little bit. And then, of course, y'all just making those long car rides. Most people, it's kind of weird. This next litter going, there's like 3 or 4 people that are less than 2 hours away, which is usually kind of really crazy. Usually they're 8, 10, 12, hours away. So, but yeah, we'll just kind of talk about all the different ways to travel with your puppies and just kind of let you know what we do because we do this a lot. So, we kind of know how to keep everything calm and successful, I guess, if you want to say. So I guess we'll just kind of dive in and I'm going to start with the airline tips. So this is going to be for people who are flying here. I can either meet you at the airport if you are doing this trip all in one day. A lot of people will fly into Nashville, have a 3-4 hour layover and then fly back home. Again, I can bring the puppy to you at Nashville. Do, of course, charge a fee for that. My delivery fees are all listed on my website, but for me to go to the airport, my delivery fee is $200. It usually ends up for me at least a 3 to 4 hour round trip because it's Nashville. Who likes to drive in Nashville? It's just crazy with the traffic. So that's an option. Or you could even, a lot of people will spend the weekend in Nashville and see some sights, grab a show, do something fun, and then come down to the house and pick up the puppy. So that's an option as well, but you're still going to be returning on the airplane. So basically some of my tips are, when you're traveling with a puppy, first thing you have to do is plan your trip. So when you're booking a flight with a puppy, when you're going to be carrying the puppy on board, you do have to do that over the phone. Don't just go online and order a ticket because you have to let them know you have a puppy and they have to make sure there's room for the puppy on that flight or that the puppy's accepted on that flight. So that's tip number one. Don't just book a flight online. Call the airline, and book it through an actual person and make sure you tell them whatever trip, whether it's coming, going, whatever, make sure you let them know you're going to have a puppy on the return flight. So that's always important. The next big thing would be to go. Every airline has a whole tab dedicated to traveling with a puppy on board. Read it and go through, read it. Each airline has different guidelines that, you're going to have to follow. The crate is a big thing. This crate will need to fit under the seat in front of you. So they have very specific dimensions.
Soft sides.
Soft side, vending, you want that mesh on the sides, as much mesh as possible because it does get hot. We all know there's not the best AC on that plane, especially when you're sitting boarding on and off. And so it will get hot. So yeah, make sure you have the size. I always use, and you can get this at Chewy, you can get it at Amazon, whatever. Sherpa makes a Delta, I forget what they call it, but it's guaranteed on board Delta. And it's just a Sherpa. It's probably one of the more expensive ones, but they hold up really well. And, it's guaranteed that you're going to get on board. I think it's like the dimensions are like, I want to say 18 by 11 by 9. It's pretty small. And, which is actually kind of cool because when you put the puppies in there, it's just like wrapping them in a big blanket kind of because there's not a lot of room.
No.
They can move around. They can just stand up.
Stand up and turn around, and
Yeah.
that's honestly, that's all the room that they need,
Yeah.
especially when traveling. It makes them feel more comfortable. If they have a lot of room to get up and move around, that's just more chance for them to get
to
upset.
pee and all
Yeah.
that other stuff too. So
Yeah.
you got that also. And I've seen carriers. I've had a couple people that have carriers where you can actually expand the two sides and they drop out and it kind of triples the size of the carrier so that when you're on your layover, the puppy can
Nice.
still move around a little bit and still be in a safe environment, because what you don't want to do is take your puppy out and have them run all over the place, because that's a big no-no.
Especially at the airport. Oh
Especially,
my gosh. The
yeah,
germs, the
yeah,
things that are on the ground, you don't want your
you
puppy to
don't.
come in contact.
Yes, absolutely. And it's kind of funny because people are always like, well, should I take him to the puppy potty area before? I'm like, no, no, don't even go near that. Don't even
Just
yeah.
have extra puppy pads on
Yeah.
hand.
And that was one of the things we're going to go over too, what to have to get there. But trying to stay on focus here. So it's going to be hard for me today. Those of you who don't know, I just had hip replacement and I just took a pain pill. So I might have some fun things to say. I don't know. I mean, not. I may drool a little. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, staying on topic's probably going to be kind of hard for me. But yeah, hopefully Melanie will keep me in check. So anyway, going back to that, follow your guidelines, follow the age of the puppy. Airline again. I'm just gonna. I probably shouldn't say this on the podcast openly, but I'm gonna, because I'm gonna. All airlines have specific ages. It could be 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever. Most of the time, and I think now it's all reverted back to 8 weeks. From what I've checked, I don't do this regularly. I don't check. I check Delta all the time when we fly, but anymore, Delta used to be 10 weeks. And so when you get up there and you check in for your flight, they are going to ask you, how old is your puppy?
10 weeks.
10 weeks. My puppy's 10 weeks. So there's that. The one thing I will say is they do not ask for a health certificate. And that's the only way that you could prove the actual age of the puppies. But again, Delta has reverted back to 8 weeks again. They flip-flopped this. And of course, there's no notification. You just got to kind of check before you fly. So that was just kind of a little workaround that we used to do a lot, just because it is what it is. If they asked for a health certificate, obviously you couldn't do that. But they just asked, how old's the puppy? We say 10 weeks and move on. But again, now it's back to 8 weeks. I think you travel Southwest Airport American.
American.
You're American, and they're 8 weeks. And so yeah. But yeah, and even if you book your flight, like a lot of people are booking their flights when they get on the litter. The puppies are just born, so we're talking 8 weeks in advance. I would still, the week before your flight, get back on there and just review
Make sure.
everything and
Yep.
make sure nothing's changed and make sure everything's good. Make sure they didn't throw in, you need a health certificate or change the date or, the age or anything. So do make sure you verify all that stuff a second time right before you're getting ready to leave, at least I would say at least 5 days in advance, because if all of a sudden you need a health certificate, I'm going to be the one that has to do that. So I have to get the puppy to the vet and hope for an appointment and that kind of thing. So
Because it has to be within like 10 days.
within 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're only good for 10 days. And it's funny because a lot of airlines require them. And over the years, I swear I've probably done hundreds of them. Because it's a whole nother vet trip. It's a whole nother expense. I think they charge $60-$80 just for the piece of paper, not to include the exam. And then of course, I do charge for my time because it's a whole separate private trip. So my health certificates are $200. So it's not cheap. And, to date, nobody ever checks them.
It's like they glance at them.
Yeah, I mean, they'll make a copy, but it's like, I don't know. It's just.
I think the thing when they ask for them is they put them with all the tickets and all of that stuff. That way, if there's an issue, they can come back and say, we did our due diligence.
Exactly.
This was not us.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, now the airport's not going to ask for it, but the state you live in requires it. I think that's what I was thinking about. Again, a little foggy, but so it's like, what, like, who's gonna check that? At the first vet, are they gonna make sure you have that? Because they don't ask for it, like I said. So that's where I mean, like, nobody's ever followed up with that, so I don't really know. I'm not even gonna tell anybody, "Don't do it," but
Mhm.
just be prepared. You're probably just blowing $200 for a piece of paper. I
I
mean,
feel like it's like the CYA on the
yeah.
airline.
Yeah. Well, the airlines, if they require it, I could see obviously, especially when we do like overseas and things like that, you obviously have to have a health certificate. That makes sense. But it's the ones that do it for the state.
Mhm.
And then, it's like, are they going to come knock at your door every month? Hey, did you buy a puppy? Let me see your health certificate. So, that's the one that gets me. It's like, I don't know, whatever. But, if the state requires it, you do want to get one, I assume. But anyway, I don't know what for, but so yeah, so we've got your flight, you've got your airline booked, you've got, everything.
I just wanted to add when you're booking your flight, nonstop flights.
Oh,
Look,
yes.
if you can get a
Thank you.
nonstop flight, it's just so much easier on everybody.
It is. It
Just
is.
it will make
And,
your life so much easier.
and even if you just do it on the return flight, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. When we travel Delta, we always we're just always upgraded. So we're usually sitting first class. That makes a little bit of difference. If we don't get first class, we're in Comfort Plus for sure. But yeah, if you can afford even Comfort Plus, you have so much more room. And I think just that extra floor space, I think the puppy has better airflow, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you could swing it, even if it's just for your return flight, any kind of upgrade, Comfort Plus, first class is always, it's nice either way, with or without a puppy, but it really does make it a little bit better for everybody. So yeah, so we went over the carrier. So preparing for your whole trip, let's talk about, when you're getting ready to come and pick up your puppy for your trip. Some of the things are a must have is going to be pee pads. You're going to want, I would bring at least 10 of them. I mean, what if you get stuck overnight, or, plan for 24 hours, because if you're flying,
You never
you
know.
never know. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah.
We got stuck in Boston last time. We made it home in the middle of the night, but, that was lucky. I didn't think we were gonna. So you never know if you're gonna be stuck there. Plan ahead. Have plenty of pee pads. Have yourself a full thing of wipies. I do give you a sample bag of puppy food, so you will have that. Of course, those little foldable bowls are just money there, so you
Yeah,
can fold
the
them
travel
flat.
bowls.
So have one of them in there for your water, just one for your water. I don't feed the puppies a lot. It's something, I guess I'll just roll into right now. When I get the puppies ready for airline travel, car travel, any kind of travel, typically they don't eat that morning,
Yep.
because anything you put in their tummy, you're just going to make them sick. Between the stress and the movement and everything else, they're going to get upset tummies. So you will have some food, and what I recommend is, if they get super fussy at that point, you can give them just a little handful.
Yeah, right out of your hand, just a
Yeah,
couple
exactly.
pieces at a time.
And if they're under the seat and they're fussy, just open it up and throw some in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll want your little bowl for water. That's something you want to offer them water whenever you can, like, especially if you have a layover. You don't want to, once you get creeping up to 20, 30 minutes before boarding, you don't want to be offering water. Make sure they have plenty of water. That's the biggest thing, keeping them hydrated. I always bring like a little yak cheese and just throw it in there. Some of the puppies like it, some of them don't. It's that little chew bone thing. I don't know if you ever noticed it in the carriers, but it's always in a carrier, in the in the zippy compartment. But I know you're thinking, I'll have to find it out in
never
there.
once had I
Yeah.
have not had a fussy puppy.
Right?
One issue I've had to deal with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it,
Knock on wood.
yeah,
It stays that way.
for sure.
Because most of the time it does. But yeah, have a couple little toys. There's always a little toy in your gift bag that we give you, that's been rubbed on mom. That's a good thing to just throw in there and let them kind of chill out with it. Um, I had a conversation just the other day with one of my clients. She was asking, they're coming and they're getting two puppies and bringing them back, and she was asking for tips and everything. And I gave her my best tip, and this is probably, people are either going to love it or hate it, but our best tip is always, and it's funny because I'm going to go back and tell you a story. The first time I delivered with John with two puppies, but John is pretty specific on how he does everything. He's an engineer, so he's like, he has his things, and that's how he does it. And when he travels with the puppies, he just, he depending on where he is in the trip, if he's through security and all that and up and sitting in the club waiting for his flight, he'll give the puppy some water and things like that. But he does not interact with the puppies. And I used to always think, oh man, you don't pick him up and play with him. And he's like, no, do not do that. And I just thought he was just a horrible person. Like, how could you not do that? The little puppies are scared, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, whatever, you do you. I mean, I know he takes excellent care of them as far as keeping them clean and all that other stuff. I'm like, whatever. And then it's probably been 3, 4 years ago, 2 puppies, and of course had to have, you can only carry 1 puppy on board at a time, so per person. So we had, I want to say it was like LA, or it was over there in California on the coast somewhere. So John and I are delivering these 2 puppies, and I get the little girl. She was a little she was a little pit, man. She was just a crazy puppy. And John got the boy. And of course, I'm walking through the airport. I've got my hands in the carrier. I'm all petting her and playing with her. And John's just giving me the evil eye. And he's like, "You're gonna be sorry. You should listen to me. I do this all the time." I'm like, whatever. And like everybody, her little head would pop up
And
and everybody would go, yes, yes. And I'm just, sitting there waiting, to get ready to board and everything. And then it comes time to board, and I zipped her up, and not even 5 minutes waiting to board. And she just went ballistic. I mean, screaming and just biting at the carrier and just Miss Drama Queen. And like, we literally almost didn't get on the flight. And I kind of wish we didn't, because she was even worse on the flight. Just and
Wow.
there's nothing you can really do. You have to stick them. You can't just pick them up and hold them. They don't, at least you're not supposed to. Most people don't follow the rules and
Right.
do, but we actually follow the rules mostly. But we don't take her out. So she's under the seat just screaming, just like being on a plane with a newborn baby. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed." Like, this is miserable for everybody, you just feel horrible. And it ended up when we got there, she had literally ripped a hole in the mesh, and she could have gotten out if she applied herself. I mean, she
Oh,
could have been out
wow.
running all over the plane and we would have never known. But yeah, so I take this really seriously now, because I didn't listen, and I learned the hard way. Do not give your puppy a lot of stimulation when you first get it. I mean, that's the hardest thing to do, because this is your brand new puppy and all you want to do is pick it up and play with
Cuddle
it
it,
and cuddle
love
it and
it.
love it and
Yep.
like all that stuff.
Just wait till you get off
But
the plane at home.
please restrain from doing that, because you're going to be so sorry. Because once, because in general, so what happens when the puppies travel, be it by plane, by car, however, whatever the situation is, when you take them away, it's kind of like, you get all these people. When I was doing the puppy pictures by myself and putting them up there, they're like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" They're terrified, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, what's happening with your puppies? What are you doing?" It's like, whatever, they're fine. It's just something new. That's how they react. They just kind of shut down. So if you just kind of go with that and just let them be them and let them be nervous and scared and just kind of, I know this sounds horrible, but I don't wanna say ignore them, because you don't ignore them, but don't overstimulate them. Don't pick them up and be handling them and
Try your best to keep your hands out of that carrier.
Yes.
That's one of the things that they love the most, is especially this breed. Your hands on them, that is top priority.
Yeah.
They're like, yes, love me some more, please.
Right.
So that's the big thing. You talk to them, and I had a hard time
Yeah, it's hard.
keeping
Yeah.
when I'm doing it, but it's kind of easier for me to. I just turn on my training brain and
There
go,
you go.
no, we want this puppy as calm as possible
Yes.
the whole way.
Yes.
So
Yes. Because they can, they can refuse you.
Mhm.
I had one of my clients not that long ago. She had I think they had some kind of issue with the flight was delayed. The return flight was delayed, and they were at the airport a really long time. And of course, the longer they're in that crate, the harder it's going to be, because obviously at some point they're going to be like, let me out. And they almost refused her. And I think they did to John once too, a long time ago. He had a puppy that was just screaming. But I mean, for every 100 puppies we deliver, there may be one that we have a lot of problems with at the airport. Now, going from our house to the airport in the car, they'll scream bloody murder. But usually by the time we get there, it's an hour and a half drive from our house. So usually by the time we get there, they've got that pretty much all worked out and they're chill. So yeah, that is definitely one of the biggest tips. Just don't overstimulate them. And you really just don't want to bring a lot of attraction to them anyway, because you're going to have people running at all those stupid
Oh my
people,
gosh.
touching them, grabbing them, trying to pet them, pick them up, whatever. And it's like, it's just so much easier just to keep that all calm. And again, you don't want to put your puppy on the floor at the airport anywhere. So just keep them in that crate. Try to keep them, try to, for the most part, just pretend you're just carrying an empty crate, because that can go sideways really quick with
Yeah.
puppies. So yeah,
That's really good to talk about it.
it is, because it's one of those things. That's the first, like you said, that's who doesn't want to get. I mean, these people are coming for the puppies, and this is the first time they have, and of course, in their minds, they're all stressing out because, what if I don't do this right? What if I don't do that right? And it's like, everything could just kind of be on pause until you get home, get them to a safe place and all that kind of stuff. And then you can just let them go crazy for a little bit. But yeah, that's the hardest thing. Just really try not to get them worked up, because that's just you're not gonna get them worked up and then walk and try to board a plane and have them just shut that off. It's just not gonna happen. They will eventually, but on their timeline, not yours. So yeah, the actual traveling with the puppy, just kind of keep that as mellow as you can. Of course, if you're doing the layovers, try to time that as best as you can. I think every airline asks for you to check in 2 hours prior to your flight with puppies. So, you need at least 3 hours in between your flight, because, at a minimum, I would go four. If your return flight is boarding at 2 o'clock, you want to be there. I would be there by 11, just in case, there's some kind of delays or anything going on.
And they are serious about that. 2 hours
Yeah.
ahead of time. When you have a pet, they can and will deny you if you are not there with plenty of time.
Mm.
So
And it just depends on who you get and that
yeah,
kind of thing, as far as, the person that day. We went, yeah, John and I just did that one to Boston, and, you know, we were standing there, and she was, I don't know, she was just being, I'm just gonna say, a bitch. I don't know. She was having a bad day is what was going on. And she was asking she asked for a health certificate, and we're like, you don't require that. And she's like, well, asking just all the want to see the shot records. And we're like, "What?" Like, and so, and of course we have shop records on us, so we pulled it out and showed it to her, and then she's trying to figure out what's what. I'm like, "Why are you even asking if you're not trained to read this?
right.
You obviously have no idea what you're asking. Why are you even doing this?" And then, she gets all hateful, and I'm like, well, I'm going to get hateful right back, because you're not following your policy. I mean, you don't know. I mean, I don't know. So you never know what you're going to encounter as far as dealing with the people. You're going to get one person that thinks they know everything and is going to do everything wrong, and then you're going to get the wonderful person in the red jacket that comes over and fixes it all, because that one didn't know what they're doing. So, don't be afraid to speak up.
Be prepared.
Yeah,
Be
yeah.
prepared for anything.
Exactly. So yeah, so that kind of covers the airline, soft carrier, ventilation is a big thing. What you need, you got your pee pads, you got your white bees, you got some food, you got some a chew toy or some kind of toys. And again, I'm gonna say, don't show up and pick up your new puppy with 10 different bags of treats unless you want to experience projectile poop in the middle of a flight. Please don't give these puppies anything that day except the puppy food that I have given you in your puppy bag. That is for your own benefit. I don't care if you hate Purina Pro line. Just deal with it for that moment. I don't
Yeah.
care, because that's going to be a whole nother thing if your puppy's pooping all over the place. Don't give them a bunch of treats. Don't give them a bunch of food. Give food only when needed, when they're super fussy, and a small amount, like just 20 little kibbles in your hand, and that should be that. What else? We went over the 2 hours before, on your layover in between, kind of find a spot that you're kind of off by yourself, and just kind of, Again, keep everything calm, quiet, no stimulation, keep your hands out of there. Just I don't know how you're gonna deal with that, but figure it out. I get it, man. It's so hard. It is so hard. You just wanna, love on those puppies. And I guarantee you the first time I made all the mistakes. So that's why I'm stressing that so hard because I learned the hard way. So yeah, so that's pretty much that. Again, airport. Now we also offer nanny service where typically it's my husband, John, or Melanie. Melanie
Yeah.
does my flights too. So you'll get to meet one of those. But we offer the delivery service, and it's kind of broke down on my delivery fees, but I'll kind of go over that just real quick. So basically what it is, it's going to be the cost of the flight, the cost of the puppy ticket. The puppy ticket is always $150. The flight obviously varies hugely from depending on where you're going. It could be a couple $100, it could be $2,000, just depends on the flight and everything. And that's something when you hire us to do it, we pick that. And we look for the best flights for the puppy. And that's kind of how we go about that. So we may not always pick the cheapest flight, but we will pick the best flight for the puppy. Hopefully, when direct flights are available, that's what we do just because, and we'll do it just on the flight that we have the puppy. I mean, it's not for our benefit, it's for the puppies. So that's kind of our fees. Our nanny fee is $500 for us to do the trip. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money, but we also take the responsibility if they cancel our flights and we have to spend the night or, if we have to rebook or what, that's all on us. So it just kind of eliminates some of the stress for y'all. So that's something if you're interested in, we can certainly set that up. I do ask, especially for the people who get onto a litter in the beginning, I do ask that we're wrapping that up by week 3 so that everything's taken care of and planned out and booked. About the only other thing I really wanted to point out, and I think we kind of talked about this one, because so of course in our notes I kind of just asked the AI some tips, and one of their tips was head straight to the pet relief area, and I'm like, no, stay away from the pet relief area. I think we talked about this. Puppies do not hit the ground, no paws on the ground. Just Google that and you'll see why. We'll talk about parvo here in a minute, but yeah, so that's pretty much, and book a window seat. You have less people crawling over you and that kind of stuff. So I've always book a window seat. So that's pretty much it for the airline, depending on what you do.
Don't, something else I wanted to mention, don't give like a great big bowl of water and a full meal like right after your flight. You want to make sure that that puppy's equilibrium, all of their systems have time to decompress. Yeah. And if you do have a decent car ride on the way home, I would suggest having a kennel instead of trying to have the puppy on your lap or because after all of that travel, one, they're going to need some time to decompress, and two, they may not have went potty all day. Yeah, and it's going to happen. Yeah, sure. If it hasn't, so just one of those things to.
Yeah, and it's and then that just kind of goes into bringing home a puppy. I mean, that's one of the big things. And it's kind of like the airline tip is don't overstimulate your puppy. So many people when they get home, it's like, oh my gosh, the kids are screaming, the neighbors are coming over, the family's coming over, and this little puppy just is like, oh my God,
Yeah.
just chill out with those things, man, people. That's a big mistake. Just keep the first week with your puppy. Just chill. Just the main people in your home. Even when you have kids, put those kids on a schedule for interacting with that puppy because it's just, you get, like you said, you got to give them time to decompress and adjust. I mean, and it just kind of makes everything go smoother, as far as the acclimation into the new home because so many, and again, you don't, who doesn't want to just put the puppy on the floor and roll around and just start having a heyday,
Right.
That's your first thing, but like, that's a bad start. You need to just keep things calm and, let the puppy feed off the calm and relaxed and feel safe and not just wound up and like freaking out because they have no idea where they are, what's happening, who all these people are, why are they all screaming, why are these people touching me?
Everybody's
it's so much. It's so
past
much.
the puppy is very stressful for the puppy.
For the puppy.
I know
it really is.
I know it's wonderful for all of the humans involved, but past the puppy when they're that brand new is really rough.
Yes. And everybody, you see so many people who do it. And, again, I get it. It's hard, but you gotta just, you gotta be your advocate for that puppy and keep it, everything going because you're the only one that's going to do that. So it's up to you, to help your puppy get through that first week. And the less stress and high energy, high anxiety, the more of that you can take away from the puppy, the better off you're going to be in the long run. So that's that. I think that pretty well covers airline, whether it's you, me, or somebody else or whatever. Again, we do offer delivery for all these things for people who don't travel, or so that's something we can talk about. And there is a tab on my website, delivery options or something delivery. What it says exactly, but it's on there. So we'll kind of move over to traveling with the car. And I'm going to kind of go over like when my husband does it first, and then we'll kind of go over, when people come and have that long trip home with their puppies. So basically, when my husband does the car deliveries, a lot of times he'll be loading up with anywhere from one to I've had him go with 8 puppies on
Wow.
delivery. So, and sometimes it's just 8 hours, sometimes it's 4 hours, sometimes it's a 28-hour loop that he does. So he does this quite a bit, and we just kind of load it up. When we have multiples, we'll break it up into a couple kennels so the puppies have more room. If there's 8, we'll do like 4 and 4, in the bigger kennels or something like that. So when we load them up, we leave the house again. I just take a laundry basket and we put a big bag of food, a gallon of water. So we've got pee pads, we got wipies. I think that's probably about it. So all that just goes on garbage bags. Bring garbage bags for when they do make a
Yeah.
mess. I guarantee you'll thank yourself for that when you can seal that off and hide the smell. We've had, I don't know how many trips where you're smelling puppy poop for 8 hours and then because we didn't bring a garbage bag or something. But yeah, bring those garbage bags in there. But yeah, pack your little bag and just so when we travel, the puppies do not leave the car. Period. No reason. Don't leave the car. I mean, I guess if there was a wreck or something, I guess we'd figure it out. But yeah, they stay in the crates in the car at all times. You know, we don't make extra stops. We just, he just goes. So when he needs gas, he'll stop and he will go through, he will clean the crates, replace the pee pads, towels, whatever, offer water, and depending on the time of day, possibly food. Again, I do not feed the puppies in the morning before they go. So usually by about noon, if he still has puppies and is delivering at that point, he'll give them some food, but not a lot. It'll
Yeah,
be
just a little treat, just
just
'cause
throw some in there and,
being completely empty and then drinking a bunch of water
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, the same thing. I mean, they're
Yep.
still gonna get sick and throw up. So that's kind of our thing. I know when I talk to clients, they're planning every 2 hours, stopping at rest stops, doing this and doing I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." And we just for us as travelers, that's how we travel. We don't
Mhm.
piddle fart around. We just get
Nope.
in there and go. We just want to get to our destination. We're not stopping. I mean, I have to beg to stop for snacks. Like, can we just stop and get something to eat? But yeah, we just get in the car and go. So, and I realize a lot of people don't travel like that. They want to stop. They're older, whatever. They have to use the bathroom, whatever. If you're making a lot of stops, that's fine. Go check the puppy whenever you have that time. Offer some water, clean whatever you need to clean. But as far as that goes, again, you're not it's better to put them in a crate and just
Mhm.
let them do their thing. I mean, most of them are gonna be a little bit nervous and that kinda thing, but, if you start holding them and, getting them wound up, it's just gonna be harder to put them in the crate later, and then next thing you know, you're 4 hours into the trip, the puppy hasn't had a nap, it's freaking out, it's barking, it's biting, it's doing all this stuff, and it just needs a nap, and now it doesn't wanna go in the crates. Just kinda do the same thing with the airlines when you're doing these travel things, just keep it low, just keep it really chill, don't overstimulate them, don't overfeed them because 'cause they're just gonna throw up and have an upset stomach and things like that. So yeah, that's my big thing, and of course, here looking at our notes from the AI, that was the first well, one of the second things it says is plan frequent there's pain pills kicking in. Breaks, no, don't. Just plan, stop when you need to. I mean, whatever that is, however that looks for you, but don't plan frequent breaks just because you have a puppy and you think you're
Right.
gonna do this.
Yeah,
Um,
because you don't want to take them out.
no,
You do not want to take them out and
no.
put them on the ground at any rest stop, any I mean, parvo,
And
it's a great place
oh,
to
yeah,
introduce
yeah.
parvo.
So parvo, for the people who haven't had a puppy for a long time, or people that just have had puppies and never really paid attention to it. I don't know. There's a lot of people that, especially around here, I mean, they're not gonna buy a purebred puppy like this and then not do the vaccinations. I mean, but a lot of people will just see a for free puppy, go get it and do all these things because they don't have the knowledge. Parvo is huge, especially here in southern middle Tennessee. A lot of people do not vaccinate their dogs. I mean, it's kinda, I don't wanna say I'm in a poverty area, but there's a lot of poverty around here. There's a lot of low income. So a lot of people don't vaccinate, which means a lot of dogs are getting parvo. My vet will, I mean, there's a lot of times she'll call me and she's like, "Don't come today. We just had parvo." So, it's pretty common. And that's something that you got to be aware of, not just for the puppy, but for yourself as well. You see a lot of people, if they get out of the car and go walk around, do whatever, and then come in and, put the puppy on the floorboard by their feet and the puppy's
Mhm.
licking the shoe. You done messed up. You've just exposed your
Same thing.
puppy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So, one of the things they make a cloth, and I've got a couple of them. It's basically an X pen, but it's all cloth. And you can buy one of, a small one of those if you just feel like you have to do this. You can buy one of those and just put a blanket in it and put it out in the sunshine and put your puppy in there and boom,
Mhm.
he's safe. He's not walking on the ground, he's not being exposed to anything. The big thing is, if you were just to put a towel or a blanket on the ground, how you pick up that blanket and fold that blanket is gonna, are you gonna crisscross it where the bottom's at now touching the top? You've just cross contaminated. So, you have to be aware of those things and how you're, you know, doing all that. So that's why I say it's just easier, just leave the puppy in the car, leave him in the
Mhm.
crate, even if it's a 12-hour trip. I mean, it's not ideal for the puppy. We all know that. I mean, who wants to sit in a crate for 12 hours? I mean, I get it, but again, it's reality. It's what it is. So you have to make the best of it and figure out the best solution to get from point A to point B. And in my opinion, the best solution is to always leave the puppy in the car. And then, especially when you're going in and out, you're going to the restroom and, get yourself some hand sanitizer, things like that, because you're touching all that stuff too. So, be aware of not just the puppy, but yourself, what you're bringing into
Mhm.
that situation. Because parvo's pretty bad. When you get your puppy, the puppy's had one vaccination at 6 weeks old. And when you go home, your puppy's 8 weeks old. So it's still not ready for the next vaccine yet. And, just having one vaccine is really not protecting that puppy in any way.
Mhm.
So, yeah, no paws on the ground. And that's something for those of you who buy a puppy from me, that'll be part of your introduction packet that I give you. There'll be, like I said, I call it an info dump where I just send all these different attachments, and no paws on the ground is one of them. Please take the time to read it and really think about it, and this can apply to when you bring the puppy home and everything else. But as far as for travel, the safest bet is always just leave them in the car and work around that. So yeah, and again, pretty much the same supplies. If you have room for a full size wire crate, I kind of say do it and do it without the divider, just because this is probably going to be the one and only exception. It's kind of a double edged sword because you're probably going to have your puppy peeing in that crate, which is not what you want to do. But again, it is what it is. Make the best of it and figure it out. If your puppy hasn't piddled or pooped in the crate, when you stop, take the puppy out of the crate. Hopefully you have some room in your car. Like I have a big Yukon, I have a whole big back thing where I can put pee pads down and take them out of the crate and have them pee and still be safe in the car.
Yeah.
So if you have that situation, that's perfect. And if you don't, just deal with it. I mean,
You do the
that's
floorboard
you.
because then they can't really go any well,
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
I say the floorboard, you put the I know we just
I'm
talked
like,
about that. Not the
no.
floorboard. Like in the back seat when, well, it just depends. But if you line it first with that puppy pad, that's immediately going to get
Exactly.
thrown away.
Yep.
That's not that
Exactly.
should be fine because
Yep.
they are plastic on the bottom.
Mhm. And you could like plan ahead and you could put a tarp down, you could
Yeah.
put an old blanket and cover the whole back seat and the floors and everything. That's what you should be doing is making those thinking, again, it's making a plan.
Yeah.
Everybody needs these plans. Like it's so crucial to your success. You can't just hop in the car and not think about this. So have your plan. You know what kind of car you have, you know what kind of space you have. make an appropriate plan for your car and be prepared on the day of travel. So, just kind of common sense. So a lot of people forget all that. So, that's a biggie. But yeah, so traveling by car. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're traveling or we're doing the delivery. It's kind of the same. My suggestion is the same for you as what we do. So, just really keep that. Another thing I want to say, it's so funny because me and John were talking about this last night. He was the one that ended up coming up with this topic. And he was like, make sure you talk about the air conditioning, like point that out because these are Arctic breeds. I mean, these dogs like the cold and they like the cold from pretty much the moment they self regulate, they like the cold. So, he was joking, he's driving down in South Carolina. It's 103 degrees out and people are passing him by and he's wearing a coat and he's got his AC cranked up as high as it would go. And the puppies are just chill. They'll just sleep. I mean, they will sleep for 6 hours, I swear. If you have that cranked up, if you're one of those people that don't like to be cold, bring yourself a jacket,
Just
scarf,
turn on your heated seat if you got one. Yep.
exactly. Yes, because that's huge. Because that will really, and especially if they get really fussy, that'll just kind of chill them out and everything. Just that cold air.
That's something else that is kind of an indicator. If your puppy's restless and just can't seem to calm down, check their temperature.
Yeah.
Check them. Just put your hands on them. If
Yeah.
they feel warm to you, just get some airflow going on them, and I bet they chill.
Yeah.
Right down.
Yeah. Well, it's funny with my babies. So I'm sure everybody can tell from the videos, we keep the heat lamps on and the babies can't really regulate their temperatures until like about around 14 days. And it's so funny because in the beginning, they're all just huddled up right under that heat lamp, and then as the days go by, they just spread.
You see them just
like
just move away from
melting to the sides. And like once they all get to the sides, and then it'll be like you'll always have that one who has just got to identify everything, with his whines, and he's going to be the one that's like, I'm done with this. It's too hot. We don't like this anymore. It's like shut that heat lamp off. And it's pretty much, in that 4 days between 10 and 14, you usually have one that just is out there screaming like 24/7. You go out there and unplug the heat lamp and it just stops, It's so funny. But yeah, even at those young ages, they do not like that heat. I mean, once they can regulate, of course, that's kind of it. It's like they go from I want to be warm to let's move to Alaska and be freezing. So it's kind of funny. Kind of funny for sure. But okay, so we still need to talk about third party. So this is a good one. So over the years now, of course, I just want to say that when people buy a puppy from me, and again, all I have is my reference because I don't really have these discussions with other breeders on what they do. But what I do is, I mean, it's your puppy. I will let a friend, a family, whoever you assign to pick up your puppy as long as you schedule that with me and let me know who it is. I'm open to you using third parties if that's what you want to do. I'm going to follow that up real quick with a couple things. So when you use a third party, most of the time the way they do that, it's kind of like a shipping, when you're organizing trucking and stuff, once you got so many loads, you plan your trip. So most of the time, third parties, most of the time, aren't going to be able to do it on the spot. So you'll definitely want to book that out in advance for sure. So you can get on one of their routes. So with that said, you're going to have to keep in mind that in this route, there can be anywhere from 1 to 25 dogs in that shipping van. And with that comes exposure. Now, I've used several third parties. I've had other people send third parties, and there have been some that seem pretty legit. And there's been some that I think if you asked them what parvo is, they would probably stand there with their mouth open and have no idea, which just makes me think they obviously, if they don't know about that, how are they protecting your puppy? So out of all the times I've used third party, and it's not been a lot. I'm just going to say maybe 10 over the years. People have hired third party. And like one of my clients of course, bought, I want to say 3 puppies, and they used the same third party. So it was the same one repeatedly. So out of all of them, I've really never had any problems except one of the last times I actually used, and I hardly ever myself schedule, but we were just so booked up and there was so much going on and we had so many puppies that needed delivery. We just couldn't do it. And so I had this third party person, I coincidentally kept getting puppies sold that were on her route, basically. So I would give the people the option. There's this person, she's really reasonable, but I'm not gonna say good or bad about them. But they will give you a quote if you wanna use them. We can't do it, but this is an option. And I kind of presented it like that, and it ended up 4 people went on this route, and I don't know, and it was funny because my husband actually, I don't know he actually was handing off the dogs when they picked him up because they would on our front porch one at a time. I would give him the dog and they would go put him in there. And then towards the end, he asked if he could see in there, and the guy wouldn't let him see in there. He wouldn't open the door for him. He said you could look through the window, but they don't let people look around, which was like, okay, whatever. But anyway, I'm babbling off topic. Anyway, in that specific delivery, 3 of the 4 puppies ended up with parvo. And in that litter, and they were all from the same litter. I want to say there might have been 7 or 8 in that litter, and of course, none of the puppies that went other ways, airline or car delivery, our car delivery, none of those puppies had parvo. So,
And after that news, you had the vet came and checked every puppy and
yep,
every mama that was here,
yep,
and it
yep,
was
yes, that's right. Yeah, because
100%
she was
negative.
there for a vet check anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
because she was doing a puppy litter. So, I'm not gonna say this was neglect on the third party, but I'm gonna say this was neglect on maybe not neglect, that's probably a strong word, I shouldn't use that. Something they obviously didn't clean properly, or I don't know, maybe it was something that was in the kennels prior. If you don't use the right disinfectant, you're
Mhm.
still gonna have parvo. It's hard to get rid of once you have it.
Yeah.
If you're not really just dousing that stuff with the parvo disinfectant, it's gonna be there. So who knows how many dogs ended up with parvo
And
that
if you
month.
and that's the thing, they may have disinfected, but if you don't let the stuff sit
Mhm,
long enough
mm,
and then rinse it away,
mhm.
then
And
you're
it's just
still gonna
common
have.
knowledge. If they're in there loving on one puppy and not even thinking about and then go touch these puppies, you've just cross-contaminated.
Yep.
And that's what I think happens because they don't, like I said, the drivers didn't strike me as highly more, I don't know, they just weren't impressive. Let's just say that. It was like, Joe Schmo, he should probably be a carpenter down the road or something, I don't know. But he just wasn't impressive. So I'm just gonna go, it was just ignorance and, not having knowledge is just plain ignorance. I mean, it's not meant as derogative, it's just what it is. If you don't know about it, you can't prevent it.
Right.
So that's my thing with the third party.
Use at your own discretion.
At your own I have one that I do give people the name. So far, nothing bad's happened. And she's great and she's really reasonable. But again, I mean, tomorrow it could be the same thing. That's what they do. They have all these crates and all the different dogs go in the crates, and that's what they constantly do versus when we travel, it's our dogs in our, all our stuff, our car, we know what's going on. That's why most people, even though honestly, we're probably more expensive than a lot of people just because it's a lot for us to not only take the time, but when my husband's, he's coming up, I think in the month of April, he's gone every weekend. And it's like, that hits us hard. It hits us hard on the farm. It's spring. I'm laid up. I'm not out there on the skid steer and doing all the things, I
Mhm.
should be doing. So, our prices are a little bit high just because our time is so valuable to us. I mean, it's honestly, we would prefer not to do them, but I know it's for the safety of our puppies. So, we kind of go with it. So again, that third party may be several $100s cheaper. So, that's kind of up to you. I mean, I'm pretty firm on, when you buy a puppy, this is your puppy, it's your decisions. I'm not going to dictate what you do and what you have to do or anything like that. I've kind of, chilled out about a lot of things. There probably was a day I would have never even went with a third party, but it's you got to get your puppy somehow. And a lot of people can't travel or things come up at the end and all of a sudden you can't travel. And so, you got to just kind of find the best option. So yeah, I do have the third party option that's in my delivery information that I give to people. That name is on there. And until something bad happens, I will keep using her as a reference. And I say that very lightly because, all I'm going to say as a reference is she's delivered several puppies so far and nothing bad happened. So that's my reference. Next time, who knows? But she's real sweet. She's again good prices and that kind of thing. But yeah, the one we used before, that was a whole different thing. And the one we used before, coincidentally, we had used her, it was that same client had used her twice before and had no issues. They were great. But this last time it was just there, she got a bug in her car and it passed along to all the puppies. So yeah, so that kind of my deal on transportation. There's a lot of them out there. I mean, and some of them are like just stupid crazy. I mean, they'll charge double what we charge. And again, I realize our prices are a little bit higher. So yeah, so there's your options for third party. I guess the only thing I didn't really go over is when we do car delivery, our fees are basically based on mileage.
Gas prices.
And gas
Since
prices, yeah.
we're talking about it, and right now they're on the rise. So
Yeah,
just
yeah. So if they go, I think I have it over $5 a gallon. I do add a little bit of fees to that, but it's been a long time since I've had to do that. And we just started this year too. And again, it's just due to our schedules and everything for us to commit. And especially when it's just one, it's kind of we've moved to a minimum of $600 for us to do it. It's just, again, it's so hard for us to have the time and do that thing. When it's multiple, that's a little bit different, but when it's just one puppy, we do stick to a $600 minimum. And that's up to 400 miles. So, and then if, it just kind of goes on 600 miles or more is 900. And then when you go over up to 800 miles, that's $1,200. And usually at that point anyway, we're doing airline just for convenience, and it's usually cheaper anyway. I mean, if close to break even at least, even with the nanny fee. So anytime we could do airline, we're kind of leaning towards that because it's just so much easier for everybody involved. And as far as cost, it's usually pretty comparable. Sometimes it'll cost you a couple $100 more to do the airline, but it's again, when we're waking up and heading out the door at 4 a.m. and the puppy's in your hands by 8 a.m., that's especially when it's like Seattle or really long trips and stuff. That's just the best option for the puppy. So yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we needed to talk about. What else do we have, Melanie?
I think that's it. I mean, the only thing I see is if you live in Alaska or Hawaii,
Yeah.
there are additional fees involved.
And I've had
You know.
so many people this month, well, past 30 days, puppies out of Canada, which Canada used to be easy. But as far as Hawaii is just like kind of a non option. I don't even know why I have that on there at this point because they have such a weird quarantine. I wanted to send one of my puppies. It's like a 6-month quarantine. I mean, it's really hard to get a puppy into Hawaii.
Oh wow.
Because it's an island like that. They're just so overprotective, I
Oh, I
think.
bet
Yeah.
because they
So
don't have the
yeah.
exposure.
Yeah, they have no
Okay.
exposure. So yeah, Hawaii. And I think over the years I've only had maybe 3 people inquire about going to Hawaii, and I almost did it once years and years and years ago. No, it's too much. So Hawaii's not really a thing. Canada is the next big thing, but it's just not happening. I mean, it looks like you can get them fairly easy going airline nanny service, but we don't have a lot of experience, so we like to stay in our comfort zone. So, yeah, I mean, my best bet for people in Canada is always if you can come over to, Buffalo or Seattle or somewhere in between and meet us, we can fly there, give you the puppy, and you can carry the puppy across. But I think even now, There's age restrictions, there's all kinds of, and I don't know how they do that. Like, how do people with dogs, like young dogs, travel? Like, what if you have a 3-month-old puppy and you want to go see your family in New York? I mean, you got to be able to get across and back, you would think. So I don't know. Reading about it, it seems pretty in depth, but I don't know. There may be workarounds to all that too. So again, we don't do it just because it's like too much involved. And Alaska, we've done several times. Alaska's fun, but of course, it's one of those things. The extra fees are because there's no way you're getting to Alaska and back in the same day. You have to spend the night. You have to do, you have all that expense involved, and then you're jet lagged and all this other stuff. But that's, besides the point. But yeah, you can't do Alaska in a day. That's always an overnight thing. But I actually have quite a few puppies in Alaska.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet they
Yeah.
love it.
Yes, they do. It's like the perfect place for them. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Melanie? I think we're pretty good on this one. That's about all I got. Just kind of common sense. So hope that helps a lot of people. Like I said again, we've got a lot of puppies fixing to go here next month. So, and this is a topic that comes up quite a bit. What do I do? So again, short and sweet. Don't do a lot.
Yeah.
Just
Do a lot and be prepared.
be prepared, have a plan, have a safe place for the puppy at all times, and just keep it mellow, because the more you amp up that puppy, the more problems you're going to have. So short and sweet. Again, if you haven't noticed, I love to keep things really simple. It's just kind of like, you got a biting puppy, put it in the crate, walk away. Short and sweet and simple, and it works really well. But yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps it up for today. I want to thank everybody again for your continued support. I'm up over 3,500 followers this week, almost 3,600. So thank you guys so much for that. And I want to, again, plug this podcast. If you're wanting, to keep up with it, I'm not really announcing anymore on Facebook. You just got to kind of know. So subscribe to me on YouTube and you'll get that notification that the new podcast, we're posting them every Friday. I don't know what time, just whenever I get around to it, but Friday mornings typically you'll get that notification. So please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe, and you'll be the first one to know when my new podcasts come out. Yeah, and just keep hitting those like and follow buttons. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I appreciate you, Melanie, for accompany me for this journey. I think it's been fun. We're having fun with it. I hope everybody else is. I don't know. We're not, we're kind of into it several weeks now, and we haven't really got a lot of feedback. So, we're just kind of wondering, are people watching it? Are y'all liking it? I mean,
let us know.
Let us know. I mean, hit me up on the Facebook page. And, again, if you have something you want us to talk about, we're like open to ideas.
Give us your suggestions.
And thoughts and everything. So yeah, just, love to hear some feedback from y'all, even if it's just a one-liner on Facebook or something. If you've enjoyed this or, learned something, hopefully this is what this is all for, to kind of help people
get some of that information out there.
Yeah. There's so much.
Because you and I, a lot of this for us is like muscle memory and common sense. But for other people, it's never been said out loud, or it's just never been presented.
And especially like flying with the puppy. I get people all the time, I didn't even know you could do that. Yes, you can. You can fly with your puppy. So yeah, it's just kind of me being me and wanting to spread information. I think that's a big thing. There's so many people out there that need help with so many different things. So that's kind of why I'm doing this, just kind of help my people along and help other people, not just my people. I mean, this is for anybody who is getting a puppy from anywhere. So, but yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you've learned a few things. And if anybody has any more specific questions, again, Erbekees.com is my website. All my information's on there. My podcast, everything's on the bottom of every page. Get in touch with me. Shoot me some questions. Give me a call, whatever. So yeah, thank you guys, and we'll be here next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.